since the concept of Haki was properly introduced, we gradually stopped seeing One Piece fights the same way as we did before. This concept of how a person can manifest their will into real tangible strength made a real difference. And yet, even though Haki has been a real thing ever since the start of One Piece, and it's been more than 500 chapters since it was properly introduced in the story, there are still many things that are open to interpretation as the story keeps progressing. We keep getting introduced to different variations of Haki and how they can be used. As you can see from the title, in this video we'll be talking a bit about Conquerors Haki. We'll talk about Advanced Conquerors Haki, and then we'll talk about what we can expect from it. Word to the wise, do not continue watching this video if you haven't read up to the 1010th chapter of One Piece. There will be huge, massive spoilers in this video. You have been warned. Oda dropped a hype bomb with the 1010th chapter. I have already read it multiple times, and it's definitely not getting old anytime soon. Especially what it brought to the table. The chapter is literally named Color of the Supreme King, or in other words, Conquerors Haki. It's finally been confirmed that our boy Zoro is a conqueror. Well, this was bound to happen, considering how Oda has based Zoro's character on Ryuma. As we already know, he is a canon character in the One Piece storyline, who was introduced in Thriller Bark and has been recently brought up in the subtext of Wano. But did you know that Ryuma was the main character of one of Oda's earlier one-shots, called Monsters? You should definitely read this one-shot if you haven't already. It is canon to the One Piece storyline after all. In that one-shot, Ryuma happened to be the king of swordsmen, and since Zoro's character was originally based on him, it was only a matter of time before his Conquerors Haki was revealed. And since Wano is an arc that is more about swordsmen than any other arc, it's only right that this is when it's finally revealed. Furthermore, there have always been interesting theories on how Ashura might have been a Conquerors Haki induced attack all along, and Zoro just never realized it. Maybe that's the reason that we've only seen him use it a handful of times in the series thus far. When you think about it, it does make sense considering how Zoro only ever used it whenever he was in an insanely dire situation, not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually. And in those situations, he might have found a way to manifest his Conquerors Haki in the form of Ashura. The same thing happened in this chapter. It has been exactly 500 chapters since we last saw Ashura, and honestly, this moment couldn't have been more surreal. Zoro used it, knowing that this will be his last move. He uses Ashura to save his captain, and in doing so, he inflicts a major wound on Kaido's chest. Kaido is surprised to see that Zoro is a conqueror too, as if Luffy and Kid weren't enough. He also shows Zoro some respect for being able to give him such a prominent wound. It's definitely going to leave another scar. Now, the dialogue here was very interesting. Something similar happened when Luffy fought Kaido, even though he ended up getting one-shotted. Kaido seemed oddly annoyed at the fact that Luffy had Conquerors Haki, and the fact that Kaido even mentioned Kid further instates his annoyance. He mocked Luffy's statement of becoming a pirate king and also decided to break Luffy's will. Then later in the prison, Luffy trained hard in order to learn Ryu, which is a form of advanced armament Haki that allows the user to create some kind of invisible armor around themselves, using their own spiritual energy. It is a rare technique that can be used for both offense and defense. In fact, wasn't it the same thing that the admirals used to block Whitebeard's attack during the Paramount War? Anyways, Luffy gradually learns to let Haki flow in his body. If he can nail it, he will definitely be able to directly hurt Kaido's spirit. But both him and Hiroguru knew that true advancement in Haki happens during extreme battle. Later in Oden's flashback, we saw Roger and Whitebeard clashing without even touching each other. So naturally, we ended up thinking that what they did was Ryu. But of course, Oden would have known about it since he himself happened to be from Wano. But that wasn't it. It was something even beyond that. And now in this latest chapter, we finally got the most anticipated reveal, and it's not just Zoro's Conquerors Haki. For the first time, we are introduced to the concept of Advanced Conquerors Haki. The moment Zoro finishes his move, he is unable to move. He had already done too much in this fight. Law tries to protect him, but is stopped by Kaido's attack. Kaido remarks how they should have just joined him instead, but that's exactly when a certain someone stands up from the ground. Luffy has figured something out. He has realized that the Haki he was using up until now was still a bit too shallow, but after he took that last hit from Kaido, he finally figured it out. What makes Kaido's offensive power so phenomenal is because of how he can infuse Conquerors Haki into his attacks. Though only a handful of the strongest people in the world are capable of such a feat, and Kaido even jokes about it, telling Luffy that only the strongest can, and not a dead man walking. Little did he know, Luffy was serious. Just when Kaido attacks, he blocks it with the exact same kind of haki. And they are not even touching each other. The same kind of clash happened when Roger and Whitebeard attacked each other in Oden's flashback. It's the clash of the Supreme Kings. Luffy has finally learned how to use advanced Conquerors Haki. Rio was just the starting point. That is the real deal, the key to defeating Kaido. And now that Luffy has nailed it, he has a chance. He continues to bestow massive blows, and he is inflicting actual damage without even touching Kaido. That's right guys, Conquerors Haki changes everything. Ever since the time skip, Luffy's Haki has improved tremendously, and now it's finally at the level where he can even hold his own against the supposed world's strongest creature. Furthermore, Luffy is now strong enough to meet Shanks as a pirate of equal caliber. Or rather, this will be the case by the end of Wano. I mean, this is still just the third act. Anything could happen. Luffy may be able to hold his own, but Kaido cannot be underestimated. It's just that, the battle against Kaido aside, just the fact that Zoro is a conqueror and Luffy is now an advanced conqueror, it's already a big enough deal as it is. Zoro is going to grow several-fold stronger once he learns how to use his Conquerors Haki, consciously. And for Luffy, this is just the start of his actual battle with Kaido, as well as his rise to throne of the Pirate King. Since Wano is heavily centered around what it takes to be a conqueror, we still have a lot to look forward to. Zoro's Conquerors Haki will be explored more in terms of his disposition as a king. He did mention that he will round up Wano's samurai, so considering how this is still just the third act of Wano, we have yet to see another Zoro storyline within this arc. Now, by the time Wano ends, the One Piece world will not be the same. It may very well be the fall of 2 Yonko. As for Luffy, his resolve was tested when Kaido mocked him for wanting to become Pirate King, and yet even though he was unconscious, his indomitable will never dwindled. He used Conquerors Haki, unconsciously. That is the kind of disposition Luffy has when it comes to being a king. In a land where pirates would rather become Kaido's subordinates than cross hands with him, there are pirates like Luffy and Kid who show exceedingly strong wills. So now the important question. How strong will Luffy be by the time Wano ends? Well, if we consider how whenever Luffy defeats a strong opponent, he is then perceived to be stronger than that particular opponent. In a way, Luffy surpasses his opponents in terms of strength by the time that conflict reaches its grand climax. And of course, unless something awfully unexpected and tragic happens, Wano won't be any exception. As it stands, Luffy may be comparable to Wano, but he still hasn't surpassed Kaido. Yet. If we are to assume that by the time Wano ends, Luffy will have surpassed Kaido, and the rest of the Straw Hats would have also gone through a period of insane development, then Luffy's crew will be Yonko level. He'll be in the same league as Shanks. This will obviously cause a major panic in the entire One Piece world. There will be many who rejoice at the bizarre growth of the Straw Hats pirates, and yet there will also be those who scorn them for the same reason. I'm looking at you, Akainu.
踊れもさっさと戻らんかい。
おかしいよね。あの麦わらが15億だもんね。
あのガキ、あん時何としてもぶっ潰しておくべきじゃった。
And of course, Morgans will flood the world with this big news. Wano has been built up ever since Thriller Bark. The climax of this is going to be insane. Fans have considered that Sanji will also be developing a different kind of advanced observation haki than Luffy. One that is more tailored to his character trait, like going under the radar, or to put it simply, he may get a variation of advanced observation haki that complements his stealth suit. Jinimbe's addition to the crew is huge, plus the odds of Yamamoto joining the crew are also looking pretty good. There's a lot we can speculate about Wano and how it's going to end. I'm sure you guys also have a lot to say about this, so feel free to go wild in the comment section down below. Now make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, it's always appreciated. Also, this is my first One Piece related content video. If you want to see more of these, let me know. Well then, as always, I'm the Bearded Saiyan, thanks for watching, I'll see you guys in my next one.